Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday. That means it's time for another installment of the NFL Stableford League Power Rankings. This installment is now after week 4. Wow, we're already through 4 weeks of the NFL Stableford League season, and we're heading into the month of October, which is when things really start to heat up here in the league as we start getting into some divisional battles and things start to shake out a little bit on the wins and losses end, but there's still definitely lots of time if you're behind the eight ball to get on a winning streak and get yourself in this playoff position. But for those teams that are just coasting along right now and doing great, congrats to you. But if you're struggling a little bit, don't keep pushing. Don't fret. There's always time to get back into the league. A few wins here, and you're right back into the mix again. And that starts off. That's a theme right now for our number 32 team, starting off the NFL Stableford League Power Rankings this week. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who check in at 1-3 on the season. They lost at New England in the big Tom Brady return game. Um, Tough loss there. It went to overtime, and unfortunately, the manager or the coach, not this isn't this is American football. We have coaches. The head coach was sacked after this one. He decided it was just enough, and I can see why. I mean, it was a very controversial result. He actually did outscore the team proper. It's when you play better on the field, but then you have turnovers, and the turnovers just kill you. And at the end of the day, it wasn't how much he scored; it was when he scored, and it was just enough for the Patriots to pull it out in the end. You feel like you did everything right, but then just crucial times that the Patriots are able to come through in the clutch to pull this one out. So the Buccaneers were number 31 last week, and they dropped one spot. But all is not lost as they now travel to their in-state rival Miami Dolphins, who we'll get to a little bit later in this countdown, or in this power rankings. The Dolphins are 4-0 and are riding high right now. They're floating on water basically. Um, but the Buccaneers, there's a glimmer of hope now with a new head coach coming in. And the funny thing is he's the head coach that actually helped the Dolphins get half of the win total they have right now. And it's B. Carroll, who is coming in. Brandon's coming in to a pretty dire situation here in Tampa, but he's already made improvements to the stadium. They're going to be playing in a different facility starting in week 5, and they're going to be hosting the team that he's very familiar with and has a lot of inside information about. And we don't know much about Brandon's new setup here, as he's basically coming in, in a new situation. He was a former owner in the league with the Philadelphia Eagles. He was the Cleveland Browns owner for a minute until he resigned that position. And Brandon's definitely got a history in this league, and it's pretty up and down. Like he's been about a 500 owner in the past, but with the Buccaneers, it could be a new lease on life, and we'll see what happens as we head now to an in-state or in a division rival next here on the NFL Stableford Power Rankings. It's the number 31 team this week. It's the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Ruby's struggling right now, just having a hard time right now with how things are going, and the Falcons are 1-3. Last week they were 24th, and they've dropped 7 spots, which you don't want to see that. Uh, they got walloped by the Washington football team, 26-22 at home, which you really do not want to see. And next they're going to be playing a struggling Jets team, who is 1-3, and that'll also be at home. I think the Falcons just need to maybe hit the practice field a little bit more and work on their playbook. I think there's some growing pains here with a new owner and a new team. Uh, Maybe not as familiar with their surroundings early on in the season, and it's easy to get caught up. Uh, But the saving thing for both the Buccaneers and the Falcons is nobody is separating themselves in this division right now in the NFC South. It's 1-3 all the way, all four teams. The only thing that's going to separate them is tiebreakers right now. So it's really early. All four teams are struggling. If Ruby can put together some of those vintage performances from when he was in the league last year, I think he could definitely turn things around. Actually, I don't think Ruby has ever even had a actual season in the league. I think he's just started off playing in the quarterback rumble and in the quarterback challenge, and I think this is his first real go around as a team owner. And I think that might be part of it too. Is like there might be some rookie struggles here with a new team owner, and we'll see how things shake out here. But this Falcons Jets game feels like whoever doesn't win that might be getting voted off the island. But we'll see what happens. It's really early, as I said in the intro, and you get on a couple wins, and you can always get right back into the mix. But next, we move on to number 30, and it's not because they won any game this past week. It's because their performances are just solid. It's the Houston Texans. The Texans were 32nd last week, and they move up 2 spots from the basement. They're 1-3. They lost at Buffalo, which they put up a pretty good fight. Paul gets a pretty good handicap, and I think right now it's just a matter of putting it out on the field and making that handicap work for him. He lost 25-23, which isn't a terrible score, and that course is pretty tough up in Buffalo, especially when the winds are howling. I see the Texans turning it around a little bit here. They're also another team in a division that's really not separating itself too much. He's only a game behind the Titans right now. At a 1-3 record, things can turn around in a hurry, especially when you have elite division mates that are pretty much struggling or division rivals that are struggling. But right now, Paul will be going back home to play the Patriots, who are 3-1. That's going to be a tough one. The Patriots are on a heater right now. They are really playing good Stableford. Might not be the week for the Texans, but we'll see if they can put something together in week 4 and somehow find a way to move up these rankings. Next, we move to number 29, and it's a team I just mentioned a little bit earlier. It's the New York Jets. This is probably the lowest the Jets have ever been ranked in the power rankings since David's been in the league. The Jets are 1-3. They were the 20th ranked last week, and now they dropped 9 spots, which is the biggest loss of the week, tied for the biggest loss of the week. They lost at home to the Titans, 22-21, which is a double hurt because you lose a home game plus you lose a AFC game, which doesn't help you down the road in tiebreakers. And I just feel like the Jets are grounded right now. There seems to be something wrong with they're not taking to the new dynamic here with the new mechanics that are happening with these master settings, and it should have gotten easier, but for some people it hasn't. And there's a lot of switching back and forth happening right now because you're playing in a tours, which is way easier. I mean, that's birdie fest, whereas you're playing in this, which is you're grinding for par sometimes, and birdies are sometimes at a premium. But getting only 21 points as a platinum player, that's a yikes to me. I mean, especially when you're only needing to get 4 birdies on a front 9, or plus you got the Hail Mary to work with at your disposal, which is going to be double points on either 9. So a 21 is like used to be a good score in Stableford. Now it's kind of on the low end of the spectrum now. When you're seeing teams shoot 29s and 28s and 30s now with regularity, which is what the NFL kind of turned into, a scoring league. But as it is, the Jets have lots of time yet. Uh, they're in the AFC East though, which is really starting to put. He's already 3 games behind in his division, which that's going to be tough to make up. But if anybody can do it, I think it's David Dix. I think he's got a pretty good course handle on what he's supposed to be doing at home. It's just right now, it's about execution now. And the Jets now get the next chance at Atlanta, as I mentioned earlier, in a battle of the 1-3 teams. Uh, that's another. It's hard to say that at the beginning of the year that it's a big game, but I think the Jets really need that one, and I think they probably need it a lot more than the Falcons do. So we'll see if they come out with that sense of urgency. Next, we move to number 28. Who will it be? It's the Las Vegas Raiders at 1-3. Last week they were 27th. They dropped one spot this week after a tough loss at the LA Chargers, 24-23. You got nipped there. Chinatown is not happy with his ranking, not happy with the tumble since the opening week. I think things are going to correct themselves eventually, but his schedule is really kicking him in the shorts right now, and I think it's really tough. The Raiders are not going to have it any easier this week as they now play host to the Bears, who are 3-1 and tied for the NFC North lead. And the Bears are on fire right now. I just see the Raiders. They need to stay relevant somehow in the AFC West, and right now, uh, that division's all about the Chargers right now, and I just see the Raiders needing to get back to consistency. And a 23 at LA was a pretty good score as they are in a pretty tough environment. But I see the Raiders needing to just put something together in the AFC. I don't know if it's going to start this week with the Bears, as that team is playing on another level right now. But if the Raiders can get back to just fundamentals, maybe they can put up another 30 like they did in the second half of week one against Baltimore. But right now, they haven't come close back to that performance yet. And maybe, Chinatown puts it together and mails one in this week for a big, big number. But now we head to number 27. And who will it be? It's a team in the NFC North. It's the Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit, ever since they beat Green Bay, it's been pretty much nothing since then. They've been really struggling. The Lions are 1-3. They were 25th last week. They dropped two spots. They lost at Chicago 29-20. They just never had a chance in that game. I think the Lions, it's in their head a little bit now that these settings are maybe a little bit difficult. Um, I just think that there's some soul searching that probably needs to happen in Detroit. They were a playoff team a year ago, and they are not looking like one this year. And the score totals the output is not there right now. I don't know if it's the quarterback change. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like my division rival is having some troubles. I gave him one glimmer of hope in my week 2 game against them, but ever since then it's been down the tubes. And it doesn't get any easier for the Lions as now they have to go at Minnesota, who is going to be very motivated coming off their first loss of the season. And the Vikings are 3-1, and they are, as mentioned before, tied in that NFC North lead. So we'll see if the Lions can get some pride and muster up some pride and come back to life, and maybe take one on the road at Minnesota, a division rival. That would definitely help jumpstart their campaign for sure. And next, we move on to number 26. They're going to come marching into number 26. It's the New Orleans Saints, who are 1-3. Last week they were 29th, so they're going to move up 3 spots. They lost at home to the Giants, and the Giants are a good team, and there's no shame in losing to them. But it was a 29-26 loss, so that was definitely, the Saints put up some points and tried to hang with the Giants, but they just couldn't get it done. And I think the Saints are definitely showing some improvement in the last couple weeks with their performances, and that's why they're moving up this list a little bit from when they were down in the dumps. Next, they will play at the Washington Football Team, who are 2-2. That's a big game. If the Saints can pull that one out, they'll vault to the top of the NFC South. And the football team is definitely going to want to keep pace in that NFC East that is just packed and stacked with the 4 pretty darn good teams there. So the Saints have a lot to prove this week. I don't know if they're going to need any divine intervention, but they're definitely going to need some help. And I think they could get it this week if they can pull out a pretty they can put out a big number and make the football team have to scramble a little bit. On to number 25. Right next door, we have the Seattle Seahawks, who are 1-3. This is a big dropper. They dropped 8 spots from number 17 after losing at San Francisco on the road, 25-20. The 20 points. That's a tough course. The Packers played there earlier this year. I have firsthand knowledge that course is tough, and the Seahawks were not very happy with their effort and voiced their displeasure accordingly. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. Sometimes you need to let it out and vent a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think the Seahawks, hopefully it's behind them now. They can focus on their next opponent, which is another division rival, the LA Rams, who are 3-1. But at least this time they're hosting the Rams at their place. And I think maybe the course might have been a little bit of a frustration, and that can get in your head. And that can definitely get in your head when it comes to your swing and how you're playing the game. And some courses are easier than others, and it's just how it is in this league. And the point totals, some teams are going to be inflated, and some are going to be a little bit less. And some of these teams out west are in some tough courses and probably won't have the highest point totals, but they're going to have a definite home advantage. And I think Seattle just kind of ran into that out west, or out in the Bay Area. But I'm expecting a Seattle bounce back at some point. I think they're just a little bit frustrated with some of the other things going on, and I definitely see them being in the race in that NFC West, which is definitely not so spread out, but a big win here for the Seahawks, and they're right back in the thick of it. And now we move up to number 24. This is probably the highest this team's been rated in a long time. It's the Carolina Panthers of Polecat, who's 1-3, 26th ranked last week. They move up 2 spots after a loss at Dallas, 29-26. Great effort. You love to see it from the Panthers. Been in the league since the beginning. One of our original owners. And the Cowboys have been on an upstart here in the last couple weeks. They found something. And for the Panthers to stay within a field goal and give them a good effort on the road, that says a lot for the pride of the Panthers. And they're well deserving of moving up this week after putting up a 26 and just getting clipped at the end there. But I just see that NFC South. The Panthers are in the conversation, and there were seasons where the Panthers would have been out of it by the middle of the season, but now they're definitely right in the mix. And next they will play versus Philadelphia, who's 3-1. The Eagles, they're soaring right now. They're feeling pretty good, but the Panthers have not been to Carolina probably in a while. And Carolina knows their stadium and they know their surroundings very well. And if it's one thing that you could rely on with the Panthers is that they're going to put out a good effort this season. And whereas in some seasons past, maybe the scores weren't there, but this year it seems like they're playing with a little bit more of a swagger. And I think that's what some of the teams that are down in this lower third here of the list, maybe that's what we're lacking, is maybe we just need a little bit more swagger and just get that mojo back, and you can move up these rankings and like nothing. And the Panthers are showing that they can move up. Even if they're losing, they're putting out good efforts, and they're not giving the game away. I mean, they're making the other team win it, and that's exactly what the Panthers did here, and that's why they moved up a couple spots. As now we head to number 23, Jordan's number, and we head over to the horseshoe of the Indianapolis Colts, who are number 23 this week. They're 1-3. They were 22nd last week. They just dropped 1 spot. They lost at Miami, 29-24. There's really no shame in that. Miami's just been on a whole nother level this year, even with their 2-coach system they had earlier this year. I think the Colts are an interesting case. They're in the AFC South, which they're not out of it. They're only a game out. They're only a game out of first, and I don't think we've seen their best Stableford the past couple weeks. I think there's been a lot of punting with Pat McAfee on the screen there. Uh, I just think they haven't really been able to cash in on some of their opportunities as they would have liked. And I think they need to start changing that. And now's a good week as they are at Baltimore, who's 2-2. And Baltimore, you have to keep up with them. Baltimore will run, and they will run some more, and they will put points on the board. So if there's a week for the Colts to turn it around, this will be a big week, especially with a key AFC opponent. And this AFC South is just continuing here as we move on to the number 22 team, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm not going to dance around this issue. The Jaguars need to be a little bit more focused. They're number 22. They're 1-3. They moved up one from 23 last week. They did lose at Cincinnati, but it wasn't it wasn't worth going. It wasn't going all Urban Meyer over as they did lose 30-28. I mean, it was a good game. Cincinnati is a handful. They are going to be tough this year for any team. The Bengals are for real, and the way the Jaguars played, they have nothing to hang their heads about there. Uh, that's why they moved up this week because they left it all out on the field, and the Bengals are just a little bit better at home. I see the Jaguars having a bounce back game here as they now will host Tennessee, who is now leading the AFC South at 2-2. Tennessee just had a big win this past week over the Jets, and they're looking to keep that momentum going. And we're going to talk about Tennessee here in a minute, but the Jaguars a little underwhelming right now, but they're playing good ball, and I think they're going to start moving back up if they can put some performances together and get back in that win column, and maybe save Urban Meyer's job here. If you want to do that or not, I mean, it's all subjective there, I guess. But we move on in this power ranking show to number 21 in blackjack. This week is going to be Art Vandelay and the Arizona Cardinals. Our first 2-2 team in the rankings, and they check in here at number 21, down 5 spots from number 16 after losing on the road at LA. The Rams 25-22 in a live game, which, I mean, that hurts a little bit more too because it was live, and it was a heck of a game as the Rams were able to pull that one out. But I guess for Art, it's been an up and down yo-yo season for him. I just feel like one game he's feeling really good, and the next game it's, oh, this sucks. So I think Art's got to find his center somewhere between the imports and the exports. There's got to be a happy medium there. Maybe get out of latex, maybe get into rubber or some other material. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe a change of scenery isn't the worst thing, but I just think the Arizona Cardinals are going to have another tough one here as they now will host the Niners of San Francisco, and who are 3-1 and now tied for the lead in that NFC West. I think the Cardinals are just there's a little bit of volatility here with the rankings, but I think the Cardinals are where they need to be right now. I think they just need to put some performances out there that are going to be worthy of the Red Sea, and we'll see if Arizona can find it here in week number 5. But so far it's been a little underwhelming. I mean, they haven't really been putting a ton of points on the board, but they've gotten away with a couple wins early in the season. So they could easily be 0-4 but their schedule has helped them a little bit, and I think Art knows that, and I think Art's got a plan in place going forward, and I'm hoping, for his sake that maybe things start to turn around a little bit in the win column. And now we head to a team to start the top 20 that I know pretty well, and it is the Green Bay Packers. A big win for them in week 4 as they defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers at home 28-27. I don't think a lot of people saw that coming, especially after the way the Packers played in week 3. The Packers are 2-2. They were 28th last week. They move up 8 spots. Um, I think it's fair. I mean, the Packers are 2-2 and able to now be within a game in the NFC North, which is key. And also now they get to go to the Bengals, which the ride through the AFC North continues, and what a ride it's going to be as they will play Jason's 3-1 Bengals, and Green Bay is going to need to bring it this week like they haven't brought it so far this season. Um, you got to put points up on the board in Cincinnati in the jungle, and the Packers know that full well. They're going to need probably at least a 30 to pull this one out, as the Bengals are not going to lay down for anybody this year. And we'll see what happens. I think the Packers are coming in with a mindset of 1-0 every week, and uh, they were able to pull that one out at home against the Steelers against a lot of odds, and we'll see if their luck can continue out on the road. As now we head into the top 20 at number 19, maybe a little bit of a surprise here, but it's the Tennessee Titans who move up a couple spots. They're 2-2. They're leading in the AFC South, and they were 21st last week. They won at the Jets 22-21, and you'll take a win wherever way you can get it if you're Tennessee right now. Kudos to them for pulling that one out and for taking the lead in the division. I would like to see them play a little bit more efficiently, maybe get some more points on the board, but they might have been playing in some tough circumstances and some of these surroundings, but I think they're capable of putting up a lot more points, especially with the handicap that they get, and especially with I think with some of the but the hard thing is when you're on Xbox, you're in an inherent disadvantage still, even with the master settings. And so kudos to Platypus for pulling out that win against the PlayStation Platinum player, which I don't care how many points you're giving, that's still a big win. And it was definitely worthy of moving up this rankings list. And next they will be playing another PlayStation Platinum player at Jacksonville, division rival Jacksonville at 1-3, who will be coming. He'll have to go down to Jacksonville and try to pull one out, and maybe put some more distance between himself and the rest of that AFC South. Now, can Platt do it? We'll see. I think out of all the new players, uh, he's probably the one that I had the least read on going in because he joined so late. But out of the later rivals, he's definitely showing that he's the up and coming one right now. And I think I mean, out of him and B Mel's and Chinatown, some of the newer arrivals, he's the highest ranked of all of them right now. At least the ones on Xbox. So he's the top Xboxer. So wear that badge with pride. Put that in your signature block if you would like. The Team Xbox signature block. Which, hey, kudos to that group for representing Xbox, because I know I don't think I could do it. I just think it's just that much of a struggle, but hopefully better days are ahead, and hey, better days could be ahead for the Titans too. So we'll see as we head to number 18, and a team that got a nice win this past week, and a team that is looking to keep that momentum going in the AFC North. It's the Cleveland Browns, who make a big jump this week. They were really underranked last week. They were 30th last week. They're 2-2. They jumped 12 spots after beating Minnesota on the road, 31-28. It was like a homecoming for the Browns head coach, and he made it pay off with a big overtime win. Now, granted, the Minnesota Vikings had some issues with their coach, and he was not available, and we had a stand-in who did admirably for them. But the Browns, hey, you got to play who's in front of you, and they did, and they were able to pull out that win, especially on the road, which is even more impressive. So next, the Browns will go at the Chargers, who are 3-1. Now the Chargers, just got knocked off their undefeated pedestal, but then they bounced back this past week. So that's a big game, and I think that is one of the key matchups this week. I think it is the CBS, the national game, and I think Cleveland has a lot to prove here. If they can put two big performances together, I could see them moving up this list even further and putting themselves right in the mix in that AFC North picture, and solidifying themselves as a wild card team at least. But now we head on to number 17, another AFC squad. It's the Bills Mafia, the Buffalo Bills at number 17, who move up one spot. They were 18th last week. They're now 17. They're 2-2. They won at home against the Texans. They put them through the table, 25-23. Wasn't the most impressive win, but it was a win nonetheless, and you take those whenever you can get them, especially in NFL Stableford. And next they will be playing at Kansas City at Arrowhead, which that's going to be tough. And that's a 2-2 team that the Chiefs are just coming off of a loss as well. So I feel like this Bills Chiefs game is going to separate the men from the boys here with the wild card picture. This is a tiebreaker down the road, definitely. And you want to win these games early on, because that tiebreaker can always come back later on to haunt you, or help you if the case may be. So we'll see if Bills Mafia can keep the good times rolling on the road. As we next go to number 16 at the halfway mark here in our after week 4 power rankings, it's the Kansas City Chiefs, who I just mentioned. They are 2-2. They had a stumble this past week though at Philadelphia. They lost 28-22 on the road. They got spanked. Let's put it bluntly. They were 7th last week in the rankings, and now they dropped 9 spots. Philly just every week is an adventure with Philadelphia, but it seems like Philly will bring it when they need to, and that was the case in week 4. The Chiefs next will host that Buffalo team at Arrowhead, as mentioned before, and they'll be looking to get that arrow out of their knee and hopefully move on to the next week with a win. And we'll see. I mean, the Chiefs, Kike's been in the league a long time, and he's seen a lot of ups and downs in the league, and the tempo and the switching might be another one that's struggling with that, and that's kind of been a theme in week 4 here is, do we regret making the switch or do we not? And in my mind, I do not regret it, because I feel like it's going to shake itself out down the road. If guys don't want to do it, they'll let me know. If guys do want to do it, they'll let me know. And at the end of the day, I think it was the right move, because we had everything set up in place for master settings and not for pro settings. And I think if we would add pro settings, it'd be 35s all day long, all day, every day. Like I could see, these platinum guys birdieing every single hole, and I could see eagles galore. I mean, I would see like 35, 36 points on the board regularly. And I just think with these master settings, it's giving some of the lower guys a shot, especially with the handicaps. And I think it'll shake itself out as the data continues to roll in from week to week. So that's my little soliloquy about the settings. As we go down to number 15, back to the countdown at hand, it's the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Wow, number 15, and these guys are in the basement to start the season. These guys are bad. They were putrid. They were horrible. They stunk. But now they're good again. And the Cowboys are 2-2. Last week they were number 19. They move up 4 spots. They won versus Carolina at home, 29-26, as mentioned before. That's a big win. And that's what you need to do if you're the Cowboys to get back in the NFC East, and they have done so. And next they'll play Don Tag Rockets G-Men at home, who are coming in, I believe, for a big matchup. I believe that is a big Sunday Night Football matchup. 2-2, the Giants back on track again this week after their big win in week 4. And I think the Cowboys are going to keep shining. That star is going to shine, I believe, especially at home, the way they're playing. We'll see. But that's going to be another epic battle in the NFC East. And we'll see if Scott can pull that one out. As we now move up to number 14, a team that we mentioned a little bit earlier, and had a tough loss at Denver. It's the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens dropped 2 spots. They're 2-2. Last week they were number 12. They had a tough loss in overtime at Denver. That game could have gone either way. I think the Ravens are better at home, and I think that's showing right now. Uh, but I think it's still early on, and I think they're gonna get more consistency. But we know the Ravens are good. We know they're a good team. Next they will play the Colts at home, which look out Colts. They're 1-3, and the Ravens are definitely going to be squawking this week as they are not happy about losing in overtime. I am sure, and we'll see if those Ravens can fly high again and move up for next week's rankings. Plus, they have to stay with the AFC North leader, the Cincinnati Bengals, right now. Uh, so the Ravens definitely are going to look to put that one away early at home, and maybe the coach will add some extra points on for good measure, or keep that over 100 yards rushing every game record going. We'll see if they can do that. As we now move on to lucky number 13, not so lucky this week. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers, who dropped 2 spots from number 11 last week. They're 2-2. Uh, a shocking loss at Green Bay, 28-27, but the Cardiac Pack pulled that one out, and the Steel Curtain was left crying in their terrible towels after that one, as the Packers barely pulled that one off. Uh, Steelers are a good team, though, and I don't think it's panic time for them. They're only a game behind in the AFC North, and they're a strong team. They're going to come out ready this week against the Denver Broncos at home. Ooh, that'll be an interesting one. The Broncos are 3-1. I believe this is a Monday Night Football. This is a big one. Two really good teams here. Denver is still to be mentioned here in this list, but Pittsburgh. This is a real bounce back one for them. If they can bounce back and get right back up on the horse again, I think they will be fine going forward. I just think that losing it on the road at Green Bay, there's really no shame in that, as it's not a familiar surrounding for them, and the Packers just outplayed them. It wasn't really nothing about what the Pittsburgh Steelers did that really caused them to lose that game. But as we now move on to the number 12 team, who will it be? It's the New England Patriots, who are 3-1, our first 3-win team mentioned in the rankings this week. It's Franz, up 3 spots from number 15 last week. The Patriots won versus Tampa Bay at home, and ultimately that led to the end of the management of Conrad, as they pulled that one out in overtime. Next, the Patriots will go at Houston. Another opportunity there for the Patriots to keep the win total going, as the Houston Texans are admittedly struggling a little bit right now, and they're 1-3. But the Patriots have quietly moved into the top 12 and are making some good noise in that AFC East, and keeping pace with that Miami Dolphins team that is still undefeated. So the Patriots doing what they need to do, putting out the workman-like Belichick type effort. Steve Belichick's mullet's looking great, and maybe Franz will start growing his own mullet. Who knows? But he's doing pretty well right now, and he's at number 12. So kudos to them. As we now move on to number 11, just outside the top 10 here, this team is finally going to get a little bit of love from me. It's the San Francisco 49ers, who move up 3 spots from number 14, and are at 3-1. They won versus Seattle 25-20. A 5-point win at home is nice, and that's what you like to see. I think maybe the Niners' performances are a little underwhelming in the early stages, but they were able to put 3 wins out on the board despite all that. And you got to just beat your opponent by 1 point. That's all you need to do. And all the Niners have done is done that in 3 out of their 4 games so far. So now that sets up a clash in the NFC West between them and the LA Rams. And the thing for the Niners is they get the Rams at home, where they've played pretty well, or at least well enough to win. So the Rams come in at 3-1, and the winner of that will be the new NFC West standard bearer, unless they tie, which then they'll both be. But at the end of the day, the 49ers have the opportunity here to jump the Los Angeles Rams in these power rankings, as the number 10 team is the Los Angeles Rams, who check in at number 10 after moving up 3 spots from number 13. They are 3-1, so the 13th rank was lucky for them as they moved up after beating Arizona at home, or 25-22. Yes, it was at home. And next they will go to Seattle. So the NFC West has their division rival matchups again this week after they had them last week as well. So a couple of big back-to-back games coming up here for the Rams. If they can put one out, if they can put one on Seattle, at Seattle, that would be huge. That would be a big. Actually, I don't think this is right because I'm looking here. I have Seattle versus the Rams here. Yeah, that's right. I think I have the Niners matchup wrong. I think the Niners are playing Arizona as I botched that up on my list here. So I'm going to go back to the Niners for a second. They do have to play the Arizona Cardinals. Uh, Arizona is hosting the Niners this week. So the Niners will be on the road in the desert, and we'll see how that goes. I think the Niners will be able to uh, play just well enough to maybe pull that one out, but we'll see what happens, as Art is definitely going to want to get back on the winning track. As now we will go to number 10 in the Rams after my correction there. Now the Rams go at Seattle, and I think this is kind of a kick 'em when they're down moment here for the Rams, as you don't want to feel too sorry for your opponent. You want to just take the win and move on, and Seattle will just have to sort out their own issues at some point. But now's the time for the Rams if they want to make an impact and move up these rankings even further. Knock off the Seattle Seahawks on the road, and you'll do just that. As now it's a good week for Los Angeles teams, as we go to number 9, and it is the Los Angeles Chargers at number 9 at 3-1. They move up 1 spot from number 10 as they defeated the Raiders 24-23 at home, as mentioned earlier. And next they will play the Browns at home, who are 2-2. The Chargers are probably my big surprise. Bino is a solid player. He's probably the lowest ranked player who's ranked this high, the lowest flight, and so he's played above and beyond his capabilities in this league. And some guys do that. Like, some guys get up for this competition, and some guys just have an issue with it. Um, and I just think Bino's a guy that I think he's up for the comp. He wants to win. He knows this isn't like the tours. This is completely opposite difficulty. The difficulty's not the same. And really, it's just about putting points on the board. And I believe the Chargers have that mindset, and they do that week in and week out, and that's going to serve them well going forward in the league. And I just think that Bino's got the right attitude and in the top 10 again this week. So congrats to him, and good luck in your matchup against the Browns, who are definitely going to want to keep their momentum going after their big win against Minnesota. As we now move on to number 8, who will it be? Well, it's a 2-win team. It's the Washington football team at 2-2. Maybe that could be overranked, but they put a lot of points on the board, and they don't have the wins to show for it. And right now, they just beat Atlanta. They beat them last week, 26-22 on the road. Impressive road win. They move up 1 spot from 9 last week, so it really didn't make that big of a dent in the rankings. But you got to beat the teams that they put in front of you, and you have to stay within. You have to basically keep that momentum going in the NFC East. You're in a tough division, and now everybody's really bunched up. As that everybody's got at least 2 wins in that division. And next, Zach will head to back home to face the Saints at 1-3. Can't look past the Saints. The Saints are improving week to week, and you never know, they could march in with a win there. We'll see what happens if the football team gets caught out and maybe doesn't have one of their better performances, that the Saints could maybe pull that upset. But Zach is not hoping for that. He wants to see that football team continue to improve week in and week out and move back up these rankings where they were earlier in the season. As we now move up to number 7, another 2-win team. It's the New York Giants of Don Tagrocket, who are 2-2. Last week they were 8th. They move up a spot. Uh, they won at New Orleans 29-26 in an impressive point total and an impressive win. And that helped the G-Men move up at least one spot. Uh, Next, they're at Dallas. Another big matchup in that NFC East. We already mentioned it a little bit earlier with Dallas that they're improving by the week, and the Giants are going to want to stay above them here in the standings. But right now, the Giants and the Cowboys are on 2-2 records, and one's one's on an upswing, that's for sure. And the fact that the Giants are going on the road, we'll see if that helps or hurts them at all or not. But the Don's been in the top 10 from the beginning. Maybe struggling a little bit on pro, but definitely not showing any struggles on master. So we'll see how it goes with that matchup. It's going to be a nice one though, and it will be definitely a dandy. As we head to number 6, a team that had a little bit of a stumble in this week, but their head coach was not available. It's the Minnesota Vikings. They drop out of that top spot after being there for 2 straight weeks. They now drop to number 6. 3-1, down 5 slots. They lost at home, which that was probably the main factor. Was losing at home to Cleveland, 31-28 in overtime, which was tough. But next they'll play Detroit at home, so they'll be able to wash down that they'll be able to swallow that loss pretty easily and maybe move on to better things with Detroit coming into town at US Bank at a 1-3 record. I think this is the time now for the Vikings to just reclaim that top spot in the NFC North and we'll see if they can do that with the Motor City Kitties coming into town. I just see the Vikings reclaiming, putting up another big point total as their coach will be motivated as he comes back off a 1-week hiatus. And we'll see how that matchup goes in the NFC North. As we head to the top 5, who do we have? We have the Denver Broncos at 5 this week. They move up one spot from number 6. Austin is 3-1 after that big win in overtime against the Ravens at home, 30-27. And next they'll go at Pittsburgh, who are 2-2. Big matchup there, as we mentioned earlier. Denver playing solid Stableford this season. One of the newer arrivals to the league. Denver has been a good team in the past with Robin Goody, who is now back on the tours, which good to see him back. Former league member, and always good to see former league members coming back into the game again. But Austin, back to the present, is playing solid Stableford and keeping those Broncos in the top 5, and definitely has the lead now in that AFC West, or actually is tied with the Chargers in that AFC West. And I could just see Denver and LA being the story here, but that division is so close. So really, how you're doing right now, you just want to keep that momentum going, and Denver's doing that. So we move now to the Final 4, and our 4th-ranked team, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are 3-1. They were 5th last week. They move up a spot after walloping Kansas City at home 28-22. Next, they are at Carolina, who are 1-3. The Eagles are in a good spot right now. They are leading the NFC East by a game. They have their rivals are going to be playing each other this week in New York and Washington, or New York and Dallas. And I think that'll benefit them either way. Like they'll be beating each other up a little bit. And Philly has a Carolina team on the road that is dangerous, so you don't want to look past them, especially this early on in the season. And I think Philadelphia is in a good place right now, and they're looking to get that 4th win and keep moving up these rankings. And It's just a matter of making sure that they get the right preparations for that road game and are able to put out a good number. And if they can, then I could definitely see them getting that W. And we'll see. I mean, these three teams ahead of them are tough in the rankings, but they're going to have to hope one of these top three slip up. As we now head to our top three in the NFL Stableford League Power Rankings, in our third ranked team, the Bears. The Bears are 3-1. Riotous Sam is playing great Stableford right now. They won at home against Detroit, 29-20 in a massacre. Wasn't even really close. Bears they're looking like the monsters of the Midway of old. Last week they were fourth. They move up one spot. They're next at the Raiders, who are 1-3. So gonna take that act out on the road, and we'll see if they can do that. But I think the Bears are looking really good in that NFC North, much to my chagrin, because wow, it's going to be tough for me to repeat as division champions with the Bears playing as well as they are, and even with you have the Vikings as well. That NFC North is three deep for sure, and even if the Lions can get back to where they were last year, I mean that's four pretty decent teams that are all pretty evenly matched in the handicap area too. So kudos to the Bears. I gotta give them their props. Being a Packer fan, I have to give them their due, as they are definitely deserving of this third ranking. And now we'll see who number two is. Well, I didn't have to go that far. It's the Cincinnati Bengals on the doorstep of number one after a big win at home against the Jaguars, 30-28. They move up from number three up to number one, or they move up from number three up one to number two, I should say. Uh, and the Packers are going to have something to say about their ranking next week, as they now will play the Bengals on the road, as the Bengals will be hosting the Packers, who are 2-2. Like I said, I will be packing my lunch for that one. I'm going to need to prepare like I haven't prepared in the NFL Stableford League in a long time. I'm not gonna over prepare, but I just have to be ready. You have to be focused. I have to find my Aaron Rodgers zen for that one, and hope that the Packers can stay relevant in that game, because the Bengals right now are just firing on all cylinders. Uh, the 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 jungle is packed right now. Fans are loving it. They haven't seen this kind of Bengals team in a long time in Cincinnati, and it's a breath of fresh air. I mean, we the Bengals. I remember when we started the league 2 years ago, 2019. The initial owner, Oh Hey Dog or Oh Hey Cat, said he was going to take the Bengals to the Super Bowl and be the first owner to do that. He lasted 2 weeks in the league. So it's good to see the Bengals owner stay with it after 4 weeks, have them on the doorstep of being the number one team, and now they're leading the AFC North. Who would have thought that? So at the end of the day, hey, things eventually come around your way, and I'm glad to see that for the Bengals. And at my expense in Week 5, we'll see what happens. But uh, excellent work by the Bengals of making this franchise relevant again and getting them out of the doldrums. And now it's time for the number one team in the NFL Stableford League Power Rankings after Week 4. It is Snowflake himself. It is the number one Miami Dolphins of Cade, who are 4-0 and have moved up one spot from number two last week on the heels of a 29-24 win at home against the Indianapolis Colts. Cade, I don't think ever would have thought in a million years that he'd be number one in these rankings. And that's what I love about Cade. He takes it in stride, takes the criticisms with a grain of salt, and just has a great time playing the game, and that's what you love to see. And the funny thing is this week he gets to play an old friend at Tampa Bay, who are 1-3, of Brandon Carroll. So the guy who helped him get a couple wins could now be the guy that knocks him out of the number one spot if he can beat him. But this is going to be sweet for Miami if they can prove that they are the real deal without having Brandon's help, and if they can get this win on their own and move up to 5-0. You have to think, even if they are beating the number 32 team, I would say that that's enough fuel on the fire that Miami will definitely keep that number one spot if they're able to stay undefeated. But we'll see. You never know. You never know. It could be a stinker of a game. It could be a 1918 game. Who knows? But I could see that be the only way that Miami would maybe drop out of this number one spot, but with a win. But no pressure, Dolphins. You're leading that AFC East. You got Franz nipping right at your heels at 3-1 with the Patriots, who are looking to be relevant again. And I just think that the Dolphins haven't really been tested on the road too much yet, but this could be the time. So if you can win a big road game against your old friend, that's a big win in my book. And I think the Dolphins being at number one is a great story. And I hope that you enjoyed these rankings this week. I enjoy bringing them to you. It's conversation piece. It's something that I like to do just to stir things up a little bit between league mates, and I really am enjoying the league this year. As I said in my post on Discord, I think the interaction's been awesome, and Twitch videos are way up this year. Video content is way up. I think that just brings more eyes to the league and what we're doing. I think we're unlike any other league that's out there on the tours or anywhere when it comes to gaming in terms of how we intertwine the sports that we do. It's not like Madden, because this is actually fun to play. So at the end of the day, I really do appreciate everybody in the league for sticking it out with us as we get through another week here in the NFL Stableford League. This is Lefty79, the commissioner of the NFL Stableford League, wishing you a very good rest of your week and good luck to all the teams in week number 5. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for watching.